B'chlal, when there was a group of shluchim, Talmidim HaShluchim, going to Miami, they would stand in the Gadei Natachten, and the Rebbe, when he would go in for Mincha, for Meire, would go in, he would say a few words, or say a siche, and give them a broche, and he also sometimes gave him dollars, and gave him kuntreisim. So I want to mention one of those times, and this was Wednesday, Parsha Bamidbar, Chofo V'ir Tovshin Lametes. They were standing at Gadei Natachten, and the Rebbe went out, and he spoke to them. And the Rebbe said that this is Parshas HaShavua, Parshas Bamidbar, talks about Levi, and Shevet Levi is the one that carried the ordinance, so that goes on the Talmidim. So they should help, you should be Matzliach. And the Rebbe said some words. But then the Rebbe said something so interesting. It says in Zohar, and the Rebbe Rasha brings in the Maimer, that concerning Rashbi, it says in Zohar that Moshe Rabbeinu had Karnei Heid, he had his face shined. But it says in Posik, that he did Layoda Kikorim Eirponav. Moshe didn't know that his face shined. So it says in Zayar that Rashbi said, Shimon Yechoye said, I know Yodaina da Ampoin Nehiri, but I do know that my face shines. So the Rebbe says, Zoldo Zayin Ba'aich. And then he said you should be Matzliach and learning, etc., Fotzes Hayadus, etc., etc. It made a big thing. In Zayar says the Maila of the Rashbi, that the Rashbi is different than Moshe. Moshe Lo Yoda Kikorim Eirponav. And the Rashbi said, I do know my face shines. And he gave a bracha to the Bochrim coming to learn in Miami that this senior that's by the Rashbi is Zayin Ba'aich. It's very interesting. Expecting that the Bochrim should be in that Madrege. And in the Ha'ore, when this Sikha was Mugye, and printed later in the Sichas Chedek Yudches, page 426, there's a Ha'ore on these words where it says that Moshe did not know, and you should have it. So the Ha'ore is, because the Arizal writes, that b'deiros elu ha'achreini mitzvah legalas eis ha'chochmeh. That in these generations, it's a mitzvah to reveal pnimis ha'teirah. V'meile, nowadays, you could be like the Rashbi. But nevertheless, this is something so special that the Rebbe to say that this should usually be. Now, I went to mention also, that l'chur, it seems from the Zayah that Moshe Rabbeinu was kiviyochel in the lower madregen than the Rashbi, because Moshe lo yadeh karen eponov, and the Rashbi did know. So when they gave in the Sikha to the Rebbe to be Magia, the way it was written was the Milas of Rashbi in the Minya from Karnei Heid, as I know Yodaina Dampen Hirin, that he said, I know that my face shines. Then it says, Masha'enken Moshe lo yada kekeren eponav. But Moshe did not know. That said the word Masha'enken Moshe. When the Rebbe was Magia, he took out the word Masha'enken and he put a vav there instead. Moshe lo yada kekeren eponav. That means that the Rashbi said, I know my face is shining, and Moshe Leyad didn't know. But the word Masha'enkin went out, which l'chora the pshat would be, when it says Masha'enkin, it stresses more that the Rashbi had a mile over Moshe Rabbeinu. Rashbi had this mile of Masha'enkin, but Moshe didn't. But the Rebbe took out Masha'enkin, means Moshe had his mile. Vice too is that the union of Leyoda Kekora and Nerponim is also a mile. It says in Chassidus that Leyoda is also a mile that's higher in Madregis. So the Rebbe took out the word Masha'enkin and left it, like I'm thinking to hint that Moshe Leyoda is not a Masha'enkin. It's not like his mile is not there. Whichever way, maybe this is the pshat, maybe not. But that's what happened. The Rebbe took out the word Masha'enkin and left the vov. Another thing that I want to mention, that in the letter that the Rebbe sent, dated Tchilas Chedesh Tammuz Chedesh Agula Tovshin Lamed Dalet, also, this was written to the Shluchim, but Lepeil, the heading of the letter is not Talmidim HaShluchim of Yeshiva Gedola by Miami Beach, but it says Talmidei HaYeshiva Gedola Asher Miami Beach. And the Rebbe actually added the word with Ksav Yad, the letter Hey. It said Talmidei Yeshiva Gedola. The Rebbe added HaYeshiva Gedola Asher Miami Beach, a Hey. And it's a Michtov Kloli, that also like a Kloli Proti that he sent. And at the end was printed, typed. This was all typed. And then the Rebbe added this Ksav Yad Kodesh. Ule Psuras Tevis. And then he writes, Psuras Tevis mi Talmud Teire, Psuras Tevis of your learning, and then in 2 dashes, shall call echad ve'echad mem from each one of you, be'ava ve'yireh. He's writing to the Talmidim of the Yeshiva Gedola, a brocha, that they should learn Torah, and each one of them, not just some, should learn Torah, but ava ve'yireh. Now we know Chassidim, ava ve'yireh is such a high madrege, and the Rebbe gives this brocha to the Talmidim of Yeshiva Gedola. It doesn't even say here Talmidim HaShluchim, here it's to all the Talmidim of Yeshiva Gedola. And the Rebbe added the Hey, Hay Yeshiva Gedola, Talmidei Hay Yeshiva Gedola Asher Miami Beach, and he added that each one should be matzliach, should have Psuras Tevis in the learning Torah, with Ava V'yira, with Ava, love of Hashem and fear of Hashem, which is a high madrege, but this is what the Rebbe expected from the Talmidim in Yeshiva Gedola of Miami.